Halo 5 is a game that divides a lot of people. It seems that people either love or hate the mechanics, such as sprint or thrust. Some do not like the campaign, whereas others do, and some people think the multiplayer is far too competitive. So despite how some of this may or may not be true, I also think that there are some great features in this game, despite it being one of my least favourite Halo games in some respects. So in this video, with us finally being in the year 2020, the year of Halo Infinite, I thought it would be a great idea to share some things from Halo 5 I'd like to see returned, and for some things how perhaps we can even build upon them for the upcoming release.
Ultimate Halo.
Hey up lads, Fletch here from Ultimate Halo, and please support my journey to Halo Infinite by liking this video and subscribing. It helps out a tremendous amount, and I'd appreciate your thoughts down below as to what you would not want to see return from Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, and I may very well include you in the follow-up video to this, so watch out for your name if you leave a comment. First of all, I would like to keep the air movement for the vehicles, in particular the Warthog that was introduced in Halo 5. I remember when I was first in a Warthog in this game, and I did the typical thing of losing control, which then tends to lead into a barrel roll, so instinctively I went to try control my Warthog in mid-air, which of course typically you cannot do in a Halo game, and then to my surprise the Warthog just started to move. It's only a so subtle movement, it's not like a full-on Rocket League movement where you're spinning your car in the air, and then I realised that 343 do in fact now allow you to tilt the vehicle. This for me personally was a great feature. I was sick of rolling out of my Warthog in the old games just because the terrain was slightly wonky or something out of my circumstances screwed me over. Halo 5, despite its mechanics being undeniably controversial, you cannot deny that it feels great and it's a tight shooter, and then the vehicle mechanics are then just the icing on the cake. In terms of improvements, I don't really have any. I just ask that it's included in Halo Infinite because especially in custom games, it's a really crucial element of keeping control of your vehicle. But with that in mind, I'm also curious to know if you have any improvements that you'd like to see in the comments down below. Next up is ARTEMIS scanning. You know, that thing you didn't really do all that much in the campaign but was quite a big selling element? No? Nonetheless, I still think this is a really cool idea, especially if the game adopts some open world elements like I'll be discussing in one of my previous videos, because it can work as a guide to help navigate you or where you need to go. Of course, I don't want this to be a feature that's going to hold my hand, because I want there to be an element of discovery in a Halo ring so it can help me contextualize the certain objects I'm interacting with. For those who might object to this, which I completely understand why you might, just think of Halo 3 ODST. You practically have the same system there. You press down on the D-pad and you're prompted with a waypoint you can follow on your screen. Then in terms of what I do to improve the feature, I would absolutely love to be able to scan things in the environment, much like you can do on Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary if you have the Kinect sensor on the Xbox 360. That to me was such a cool feature. You could tell Kinect to analyse, and from there it would plunge the game into a thermal vision. Then anything you could scan, it would appear red, you'd hover the cursor over and then you'd say scan. Then when you go back to the main menu, it would then allow you to observe the 3D model you'd scanned, and it would also give you a description so you can understand more about the object itself and the surrounding lore about it. Of course, yes, it's a bit of a pain coming through to the main menu to do it, but all the things you might be able to find in Halo Infinite would be incredible. I'd love to see more about the wildlife in the game. I would like to know more about the rhino-like creatures. Where did the Forerunners seed these things from? What did they like to eat? How did they like to live? The same could also stand for weapons. You could also scan the gun, it'd give you a brief history, it could tell you where it's manufactured. This would then be a great utility to help people learn more about the lore and the surrounding stories. And then after reading it you might think, okay, cool, this is made by this certain manufacturer. Then it'd be a super simple process just to research one of the many Halo wikis to delve deeper into the lore, therefore investing them further into the franchise. Personally, I don't think this will be a feature. It seems quite labour intensive, but regardless it would be incredibly cool to see something like this implemented. BREAKOUT, Breakout. This was a game type from, as far as I could tell, was pretty well received at first, and for me it felt like a breath of fresh air. In Breakout you basically had 4 teams going at it in a symmetrical map in a round based elimination match. I had some of my most favourite online games in this game type. It was fast paced, your health was reduced and the time to kill created some tactical urgency, and some of the most skillful and tactical plays were so satisfying when you pulled them off. Sadly, I think the population died off. It's hard to say why really. I think that the maps were created in Forge reduced the appeal, at least for me, because they felt very alike in a lot of respects. And then with so many other game types eventually being released, I don't think it really incentivized the players to continue. It did eventually get some updates, but I don't think players seemed to enjoy the new formats, the new weapon stats, and the other changes that they made. As such, I think it actually pushed people away even further. In terms of improvements for Halo Infinite, if they brought it back, it's quite hard to say in truth. I think dev-made maps would be a big bonus, but it's hard to call because there's a risk in investing time and resources into that, so there's definitely a risk of doing this, no doubt about it. Although having it as a weekend playlist might be a benefit, I tend to enjoy being incentivized to hop on over the weekend just to play specific short time game types, so it mixes up my experience a little bit, and it might be a bit easier if the maps are Forge made. With all these changes coming, I imagine the maps are going to look even better than before. I do struggle with this one, so any suggestions on how it can be improved would be greatly appreciated in the comments as well. The next feature I would love to see is rec packs. No, wait, just chill out, I'm just kidding, okay? We know there's going to be no rec packs. Breathe. But this next one is so cool, and it makes me wonder why was it never a thing before. It's another Warthog mechanic, and by pressing A you can simply switch seats. It's such an effective tool because it allows you to quickly fire at your enemies whilst you are riding solo. It's a pretty fluid motion, and if Halo Infinite is going to concentrate on the Master Chief and is potentially not going to have blue team, it might be even more necessary to add this feature going forward. It's only a small thing, but I really appreciate it regardless. The only thing I'd say is that the animation is a teeny tiny bit too slow for me. I understand why, because you don't want players zapping between seats online because it'd be way too overpowered, but I hope to God it comes back. In terms of improvements, I don't really have any, it just works. Please, 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 343. We all like the odd custom game in Halo. The community has made some ridiculous maps and game types, and I think the best ones have stemmed from Halo 5's Forge mode. It really is fantastic. But with that said, not everybody has a group of friends that they can hop on and play custom games with online. As such, 343 eventually implemented the customs browser. This is great, there's plenty of variety, and even if you decide to host it, it doesn't typically take long for people to find you, and from there you're hosting a full lobby of people having some wacky times, and you can have some of your best moments and best memories on Halo. Honestly, if you haven't even tried it yet, do it, there's some great ones out there. I do also enjoy the filters because you can actually choose what game type you want the game to derive from, the map that is forged in, and other various elements and tags. It's a great system, although I do question whether or not something of this sort will be implemented at launch due to the possibility of it detracting from other online playlists, which I'm sure they want to keep as populated as possible. It's hard to say, but I'm sure it'll be there at some point during the game's life cycle, especially as the library of actual custom games and maps starts to expand. This is only a small one, but the opening multiplayer cinematics where the Spartans were taunting each other was a nice little touch, and it also allowed you to see both your team's and your enemy's team's Spartans, and I remember they actually toned it down from the beta because fans didn't like it, and to be honest I think it was due to something about the Spartans not acting that way, but in my eyes it's a pretty natural thing for the Spartan force to do. You got to remember, in terms of the story and the lore of the multiplayer, these are all simulations on the UNSC Infinity, and plus they're socialised in a certain way. That doesn't mean they have to be so serious all the time. The normal human beings are Spartan force compared to the previous generations. I do hope it comes back. I won't lose any sleep if it does not, but it's just a nice little touch, and it allows you to see other elements of your Spartan you might not see otherwise. And also it'd be cool to have certain unlockables for this, because then you can sort of have your Spartan's personality change to a degree. Lastly, I want non-combat missions to return, but just in a bit more depth. I actually go into this in quite a bit of detail in one of my recent videos where I propose exploration missions, and I think the scanning feature I previously mentioned would work wonders in this type of single player mission. In terms of execution, I think Halo 5 could have done it in a lot better ways, but the standout one for me was the first one on San Helios, because overall it's a cool concept. It was good to see how all the elites and the grunts were sort of interacting in a casual environment, and there will be a link in the description for that video just in case you want to delve into it a bit further in terms of what I say. But despite all of Halo 5 missteps, I think there's a hell of a lot of good to bring forward from this game. My name is Jack Fletcher. Let me know in the comment section what you would like to bring back and what you might not want to bring back to be featured in my next video, and I will see you next time on the one and the only Ultimate Halo.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.